Monday. It starts at 6, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir. 6:30. I know it's a baseball game or something, so it might have impeded it by about 30 minutes. So I had to get back with my calendar and not be honest with you.
Yeah, so.
I to call the April 14th, 2025 Bladen Education Board meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. It sounds like we got an exciting hallway back there. Got a lot of recognition that we're going to give out tonight. So just want to thank everybody for being here. And at this time, I'll ask Mr. Thomas if he will give the invocation, please.
Lord Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for a new day filled with new grace and new mercy. God, we thank you for your unmerited favor. God, we pray that you'll be with us as we make decisions collectively, oh Father, God, to impede, God, to navigate on behalf of our students, oh Father. God, we pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance, God, the same wisdom that you gave, oh God, to your servant Samuel, oh God. God, we pray that you would use us for your glory in this hour and this time, oh Father, that we be with one accord as if on the day of Pentecost. God, you be glorified and Satan be terrified. God, we pray that you protect our students. You protect us, God. Keep us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Chairman, Secretary, Board members, tonight we have students from Carlton School Discovery who will be leading our Pledge of Allegiance. Kamara Monroe, Colton Courtney, Jana Gore, and Kelsey Pridgeon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get a motion on the floor to approve the announced agenda. I guess.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor by signifying by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to get a motion on the floor to approve the night's consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor by signifying by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Spotlights and recognition. Is that right?
Thank you, Chairman, Secretary, Board members. Tonight we have several recognitions and we would like to share with the board and with our families that are here tonight. First of all, we'll begin with the soil and water recognition. Ms. Dana Mize, our CT director, will be recognizing those students' names.
First up, we have Ms. Destiny Wilson from Tar Heel School. Destiny places second in the 7th grade essay contest. Next, we have Jared Smith from West Bladen High School. Jared placed first in a ninth grade essay contest.
Yeah.
Next, we have from Elizabethtown Primary School, our NC Ties students. These are students from the school who actually went and presented some work from their classroom.
Isaac Espinoza. Evelyn Salgado. Jared Leal. And Mate Lopez Figueroa. And this long, our media coordinator.
And y'all share with the group what it was you all demonstrated at NC Ties Conference.
Jared, can you tell them what we did?
We describe about the habitats in a robot.
First grade made habitats for their class in first grade, and third grade made robots that actually moved inside the habitats that the first graders made and presented and taught the teachers and did the whole, they ran the show.
That's awesome. They were slated across the entire state. So just a bit of closing statistic. Continuing with Mrs. Smith, we have the Elizabethtown Primary School Battle of the Books team who were the county winners for this year in our district. So Ms. Smith.
First, we have J.C. Bond. Nora Bridgers. Karan Lewis Gary. Jesus Rivera Ventura. Joshua Williams. And Ariel Zambrano.
No, I'm sorry.
And our coach, Ms. Long.
Good job.
Next, we have our Battle of the Books team from Tar Heel School, which was our middle school winners. And so we'd like to ask Dr. Vanessa Ruffin, if she would come forward, please, to call the names for students. She's gonna-
Good evening, everyone. We are here tonight to recognize our Battle of the Book team and our Varsity team. First, we have Tar Heel School Battle of the Books. Tar Heel School team won first place in Bladen County Schools Middle School Battle of the Book competition. Tonight, here with us, we have Madison Elbridge, Elitza Ortiz Rojas, Aislinn Perez Vasquez, Alazan Sandoval Cruz, Jasmine Sandoval Ortiz, and Coach Leah Cromartie. Missing tonight, Jada Mathay, Javier Cabrera Mendez, Jonathan Marquin, Nayeli Mihal Marquin, Nicholas Musselwhite, Peggy Nichols.
Continuing with Dr. Russell, we have our Enviro-Fund teams that we recognize tonight. And we also have some students who are on their way to state competition with Enviro.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we have Tar Heel School has two teams that were successful at the regional marathon and will go on to compete in the state competition. The first team was named Team Ignite. They placed second. And, here with us tonight, we have Riley Finley. She was the only girl on the team, and these fellas they're not here tonight, but Johnny Lee Muscatelio, Charles LaMarca, Axel Estrada, and Nicholas Musselwhite. They will compete at the state competition in May. Also, we have our second team, and their name was the Backyardigans. They placed sixth place. We have Kenny Rogers and Destiny Wilson tonight. And we have our sponsor, Miss Nikki Bryant, with us tonight. Missing from the second team is Haley Cooper, Andrew Resendez, and Shalay McCoy, and sponsor Ray Jackson. Thank you.
Next, we have from Bladen Early College High School, recognizing our governor's school nominee from the district who has been selected. So ask their principal, Miss Haley Cheshire, she'll introduce our governor's school.
Recognize tonight Abigail Moore, who has been accepted to Governor's School for Natural Science, and will attend this summer.
Next, also from Bladen Early College High School, we're recognizing our beta winners from the high school.
We're also proud to recognize our Beta Club winners from state convention. We have Josie Pate. Josie is in fourth place for 10th grade agri science. We have Malaya McClendon, who was fourth place in hand-drawn anime Division 1. We have Annika Ringer. Annika was fourth place in on-site painting Division 1. We have Amira Washington, fourth place, 11th grade psychology. We have Kevin Aguilar Sorrell. Kevin is fifth place in 11th grade Spanish. And then the club is only as good as its sponsor, and we have the incomparable Holly Meehan, they racing to our students. Also, we'll mention that at state convention, our students from the early college earned as groups, second place in performing arts senior solo duo trio vocalist, fourth place in performing arts small group, and third place in show choir.
And now we'll be recognizing students from the East Bladen High School Marching Eagles Band. Tonight, introducing our students is Ms. Pam Bryant, Assistant Principal.
Thank you. From East Bladen High School Band, tonight, under the direction of the wonderful Miss Brenda Flowers, for the third consecutive year in a row, the East Bladen High School Band has earned a superior rating at the North Carolina Musical Performance Adjudication. And representing our band are Seth Adams, Tamia Brown, Justin Garrett, Jalen Graham, Darlene Montego Alvarado, Jemiah Peterson, Macuri Shepherd, Rudy Stevens, and Mrs. Flowers.
I tell you, when you think about band, if I was a band director, you have to impress 4 judges. So for 3 years, we have impressed 4 judges at East Blaine, so that's tremendous. So this is definitely. Every cemetery board members, that includes our spotlights and we use this evening.
Dr. Atkinson, we have any citizen participation?
Yes, sir. We did have one that has signed up, Mr. Edward Smith. And according to board policy 2310, the first part of at least one regular scheduled board meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board in public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total, except by majority vote of the board. During the public comment period, the board chair will recognize speakers in the order in which they have signed in. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Thank you, Ms. John. Hope that's it. So we have Mr. Edward Smith tonight.
Evening, sir.
My name is Edward Smith. I'm here representing the Plainview Alumni Association. We've been here before about 1.5 years ago, and they have elected me as president. It's time for us to do a new president. So I want to come back before the board, just a little brief. And really what I want to find out is where we're at on it, and I want to let y'all know that we're still trying to do something. Our main purpose is to help the elderly, help educate the kids. We're trying to get a program during the summer with teachers that's retired and stuff. If kids need tutoring, if their parents want them to come get tutored, setting up a program for it. We're already, the 4-H club, we're working on the 4-H club. We're gonna work on stuff like Boy Scouts and stuff like that. Another main purpose, we want to make sure that every kid, if you don't go to college, we want them to get a trade. We want some kind of trade, but we want to start when they're in elementary school to find out what they're good at, because everybody ain't going to college. And so we actually know that. Like I said, I'm on a time schedule with you all, but I can come back again. If you have some questions, my phone number is 910-624-2427. 910-624-2427. If you want to meet me and talk, just let me know. I'm vacant, I'm retired. Only thing I want to do is help the United States, help Bladen County, help Tar Heel. That's my sole purpose. I want to make our better. I know you all are you're doing a good job. People say you ain't doing, sometimes you say you ain't doing a good job. But what I'm saying is this, I like to be honest with people.
Yeah.
90%, you get the 90%. So nobody does everything right. And nobody's gonna agree with everybody. I know that. So main thing I wanna do, if we're not gonna be able to get Plainview School or part of it, just let me know. So I can work with the people and say, okay, we gotta go another route to have a permanent place, to have Boy Scouts, camps where people, because there's nothing in Tar Heel. I come back to Tar Heel and I look and I say they did that in 30 years, as far as the community is concerned of helping people. And they wonder why people leaving. And now we got people coming in because they're building a lot of housing areas and stuff. So I would like for us to look at Tar Heel as a thing. And when you look at Tar Heel, I want you to do one thing. When y'all think about Tar Heel, think about the fire department. When a fire happens, the fire department don't care where you're from, don't care what part you is, don't care what color you is, they come out to fire. So I want y'all to come out to fire and Tar Heel, okay?
Mr. Smith, I have a question if you don't mind,
Okay.
and I appreciate what you're doing. We need to do something in that area, especially with that building. I support that. It's just a matter of just make sure we got the right fit. So my question is, the students having a trade, what do you have in mind for that?
But what I was thinking was getting with Bladen Tech, getting with Bladen Tech. Once we find out what the children like, if we get the building, have Bladen Tech to come up there and do a class. Okay,
Awesome.
Now take myself for instance.
Awesome.
If I see a kid that I think he's good in maintenance, I did 30-some years in maintenance, got a degree in maintenance, so I could help him out. We got people that's plumbers. Some kids could be plumbers. Plumbers make money. Electricians.
You say that where they can get some kind of certification in
You have to get certifications and stuff, to get certification. But what I'm saying, even on certification, you gotta start somewhere with an air conditioning company.
That's right.
You get in with an air conditioning company and you gotta let them know, you're not gonna make a lot of money when you get started. But you gotta show them the long range. What's the long range plan of getting your certificate to do air conditioning? So that's the kind of stuff that I really want to talk to people about and get down in Tar Heel. And really all of Bladen County. You know, we actually need to do that. It's not just Tar Heel, it's just around.
Do y'all have any parks in Tar Heel, Mr. Smith?
Say that again.
Do you have any parks in Tar Heel?
Parks.
What are hearing aids out?
Parks. In parks.
You have a park, like for kids to participate in a park.
In Tar Heel.
Yeah.
Everybody knows no park in Tar Heel. But what I'm saying is, I know some people represent Tar Heel, but there's no park in Tar Heel. You got Park White Lake, Clarkland, Bladenboro. I just went riding around, see all the softball fields and everything and all that, you know. We can improve our sports program and help, if we start training the kids, there's a lot of people that want to have. Tar Heel has a little park back there, but it ain't no lights. It's like you gotta drive through somebody else's area to get to the park. So some people don't feel comfortable actually going to the park because you gotta drive through there. If it was a local area where, hey, everybody's welcome. Any more questions?
Just a comment, just to commend you on some of what you said. I think that starting with Bladen Community College is going to be a great avenue for you. As with the workforce development they can offer, and you can think beyond just the CTE pathways or the skill set. You can offer any course and they'll provide instruction. So it could be a Bible study course. It can be a soft skills communication, introduction to employability skills, do resumes, computer skills, all types of courses. So if you have the population, at least I think we're probably sitting around 8 students per instructor just to make it cost effective. But if you can get 8 people, they can start a class.
I think you got a lot of workers over there to support what you're trying to do. Basically, you know, there's like baseball has kind of fell off on that side of the county a little bit, but you got some people that are eager to support. So I think if you get everybody in the round table and get to thinking, there's no telling what you can come up with. Because you're right, there's no park in Tar Heel. I don't think there's ever been one since I can remember. So just different stuff, but I think you're on the right path.
When I was coming up, baseball was a thing there in Tar Heel. Baseball was actually a game, but if all of us work together, we got to work together.
Sure.
You know.
Jim, see if I can speak. And Mr. Mills, I want to ask you to have, I know we talked last time, you know, there's some statutory things with the building. Have you all had any luck in talking with a legislator, because that can go outside of the disposal, because we have to offer to the county, we're supposed to sell at fair market value. But what has happened in the past across the state too is that there's a community organization or group or even the BCC route like we did at Booker T, it becomes for educational purposes, And, BC did that. That's how they were able to acquire Booker T building. If you're in communication, if that's something maybe BC would want to do for like a workforce development center, / area, might be a possible route. Second route could be to, if, one of the representatives, that could be petitioned and added onto a bill, budget bill, some kind of bill. And that's happened across the state too, where, that happens, legislature approves a transaction outside of the normal statute. And that could be another route too. So, I think we're all definitely willing to work with you all and support that work to be done. Just trying to find the best route to do it, if it's worth, it might be worth talking to a legislator, and the college as well. And that's something I could also, I actually supposed to have a call scheduled tomorrow with Dr. Lee, the president, and I could actually put that on her radar as well and share that there's some interest maybe in, that Plainview area. And that, and if you'd be willing to, I'd be glad to share. If you don't mind, I would share your number with her. If you don't mind, maybe it's all community college.
Anything to help the community, to help
Yes, sir.
Blaine County, North Carolina, and the United States, I'm all for it. I mean, I thank you for your information, because what I'm saying, that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
You know stuff about the legislature that I don't know.
Right.
And you know routes to go. So that's one of the main reasons that I want to actually go this route. But a question I would ask, since I got a little bit more time, I guess.
We ask questions, it takes your time off.
So on the Plainview thing, is it a possibility? I'm not saying that we might get the whole school, but are we in the woodwork of getting a part of it, auditorium or something? I mean, when people ask you a question, you say, well, I don't know, they're working on it. You gotta tell me they were working on it a year and a half, you take it to another mechanic, but we can't do that.
I think we would like to let you have all of it if it's all possible, because if you don't have it all, then other people can come in and try to acquire other parts of it that might not go along with what you're doing. And that would be a major issue. So then either you will fail or they'll fail, or both of you fail. So it needs to work together. So you're the one that came and approached us for the second time, new president, congratulations on that as well. Yeah, I think that if you can bring us something that we can look at and know to completely outline what you want to do, and set up something for all of it, even the field. You can rent the field out and let them have games out there, whatever you want to do. But let's utilize for that community.
And one thing I'll do, Mr. Smith, too, is I can, I'll give you a call to get your email address. I'll get you in touch with the representatives for our area. Because they all have assistants, and that way, I think we need to get an approach it from both sides. Approach the college as well as put it on legislators' radar, and this is something that the community is interested in, that's something they can consider. And I think between one of those two options, maybe something, whichever one comes through first, be the best route to probably go. But I agree with Mr. Davis. I would definitely do all, because you don't want a for-profit group to come in there if you're trying to do that. Especially if you're going to have small children in the area, you don't want to do that. Yeah.
That's all I appreciate.
Good job,
Like I say, call me anytime, let me know, or anything I can do for you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to information items 8.01. Career Technical Education Program update, Ms. Nice.
Good evening, Board of Education members. I just have a very quick piece of information to present to you tonight. What you see on the screen and what you were given a few days ago are the current enrollment numbers for our Career Technical Education Program for Bladen County Schools. We'll start first with East Bladen High School. Over to the top left, we have 115 students enrolled. Business, we have 192 students enrolled. Family and Consumer Science, 95 students enrolled. Trade and Industrial, 253 students enrolled. Health Science, 185 students enrolled, for a grand total at East Bladen of 840 enrollments. At West Bladen High School, we'll go in the same pattern. Agriculture, 355 students enrolled. Business, 245 students enrolled. Family and Consumer Science, 76 students enrolled. Health Science, 197 students enrolled. And Trade and Industrial, 201 students enrolled, for a total of 1,074 enrollments at West Bladen High School. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I was gonna wait.
That's all the information.
Okay, just to ask with these numbers, if you go back to East Bladen and then you compare those to West Bladen, I think I was informed that the enrollment at West, with non-CTE, just the enrollment at West is higher than it is at East. So whenever I saw the numbers, the first thing I thought was, were these duplicative numbers? Meaning a student was counted during the spring, during the fall semester, and also again during the spring. So it's likely that we'll see, I don't know, 115, it may be 67 or something.
So
If the students were enrolled both semesters.
you are correct. For every student enrollment, even if it's the same person, that does count again. Those are duplicated enrollments. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess my other question is, it goes into CTE. I've seen students down through the years with CTE programs, they get the cords, we celebrate those students actually, whether it's Microsoft Office, if it's welding, we talk about Skills USA, things of that sort. And just for clarification, could you give the purpose of CTE programs? And I want to get to why I asked you that question.
So the purpose of CTE programs in Bladen County Schools is to prepare students for a career in our region. We look at regional data, we look at employment data essentially, and the offerings available to our students, and that's how we create our pathways. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. That was spot on. So the thing is that when we start looking at CTE pathways, it is geared towards employability skills. It's to enhance employability skills. We know we want folks to go to work, make their sustainable wages, pay taxes, do the economy, things of that sort. But I have seen that there have been a large number of students, and that is to be celebrated with those students earning CTE certificates, pathways, honor cords. But are those students ready to go to work? Because I've seen students earn a lot of certificates. They've earned a lot of, honor cords and things of that sort, but they're not prepared to go to the workforce. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because the students then have to go to a community college to continue on welding or computer information systems, or I don't know, cosmetology, whatever pathway it is. So they go there to finish, and I'm just trying to, I worked at a community college so many years, and we don't want to supplant courses, meaning we're offering the same things that you all, well, that the community college offers the same thing that the public school systems offer. But if the public, I guess, I understand it's great to have at the school, but if the student took the same course at the community college while they were in high school, then they'll earn collegiate credit and high school credit. So the students that are enrolled in these programs, once they start their 2-year journey, whether it's certificate, diploma, or degree at the community college, there is essentially starting over again. So I'm just trying to figure what would be the benefit if it's the student can earn high school credit, the criteria to graduate, and collegiate credit. So once they graduate high school, they can go to a community college. As long as they make a grade to C or better, they offer the same program, go in with a year maybe of college, or at least some college credit, versus this, where they may not earn any collegiate credit.
So there are several answers to the question you're asking, I believe. So our CTE programs, both at Bladen County Schools and the community college, are made to fit together like a puzzle, essentially. A lot of the credentials that you speak of that we offer and that BCC offers have age limits. So that would be one reason for a student to take classes in high school specifically. For example, our FAA 107, our unmanned pilot's license, a student has to be 16 to test. So we have to make sure we line them up properly for success. But we talk extensively with BCC to make sure that those pathways do line up just like a puzzle, where the Department of, goodness, let me clear my head. The Department of Public Instruction defines it as on and off ramps. So that students, if they're driving down the interstate, can get off on an exit if they so choose, and take courses at BCC without missing a beat.
And I guess, okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, well, go ahead, and I go back to.
When you take a course at BCC, like wiring, something like that, do you have to take the plumbing? Cause I went there one time and I was taking up a plumbing course, and they told me I had to take wiring and this, and is that, so how does that work?
So Mr. Rhoda, I don't want to tell you anything that's not true. We have the experts in, right?
Well, I won't say I'm an expert by any means, but I always have something to say. But no, it's not required to have a curriculum outlined, and if it's welding, then you would have welding 101, welding 110, welding 111. So you go through the TIG and STIG, MIG and TIG, all that other stuff. So
I need to go up past them people too, what they got going on. But I still have another question. What kind of courses, the trade courses do you have in your CTE program?
So within our trade and industrial pathway, I'm gonna recite them from memory. We have masonry, woodworking. Firefighting is in conjunction with BCC now. We have law and justice and drone technology. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Logistics and distribution.
a little bit.
And them first two making money, I can tell you that.
Yes, all of them are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you get a lot in ag mechanics too also.
Yes. And
So
technically,
that's something that,
that one kind
It's
of
not on
touches
C-
both areas. They teach some trades in there, but technically it would fall under the agriculture umbrella because everything in the ag mechanics course is geared toward farm maintenance, ag production maintenance. But you're exactly right, Mr. Edwards. There's a lot of crossover.
Just to go back, with the job market. So are you pairing students that may go through these, CTE pathways? Are you pairing them with potential employers? I know it used to be a co-op program many years ago. I'm not sure if we're still offering that, which gave students the hands-on, in essence, on-the-job training.
So now, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to be sure that we're pairing students because we don't want students to go through this curriculum or go through a pathway and then listen, because I was told the same thing, going through college. Listen, the longer you go to school, the more money you make. That's not the truth, not by a long shot. So I want to be sure that we're being truthful with students, and if they are matched with employers or at least are knowledgeable about employers, and you probably do that with job fairs or some other career fairs with the students and.
They have put everything under the work-based learning umbrella, and that truly starts in sixth grade. We start exposing them to employers in the form of guest speakers, like you said, job fairs. We take them to the trade what's next in the trade, specifically BCC. We take them to BCC a lot. We pair them with employers as much as we can. We put them in front of employers.
And then my last question is, I know you talked about, like almost similar to interstate where you can pivot or exit on a different exit and then get back on and go to BCC. So I guess with that, I'm just trying to get clarity on this with my own level of comprehension. If it's welding, if you offer that as a CTE program, then they offer it at Bladen Community College as well. Again, if they complete it, they can earn all A's, do outstanding, go to Skills USA, perform very well. As soon as that student enrolls at Bladen Community College, Roberts, Southeastern, Fayetteville Tech, then that clock starts over again. There's not a bridge walk or crosswalk to say these courses are equivalent to this course at the community college.
Yes, so they actually, March 21st, they just finished the revision for the articulation. And that, I was on a meeting today with the CTE advisory board for DPI, and that document is now being prepared from the information that we learned from that. We went over to BCC, met with the instructors that teach like programs with ours, and we helped in adding information to that articulation agreement.
And they did say there are some other things with DPI as well as the community colleges are working together with the 2.8 requirement for CTE programs. So maybe that'll be released pretty soon. That's wishful thinking. So
And also doing some more work with the equivalences on the CCP side too, so they're revamping all that. But yeah, I think there's gonna be some, like in the meeting I was in, we had a meeting of community colleges presidents and superintendents about a month ago. And they were talking about doing some work with that GPA and flexibility, which I think because that has been a barrier in the past. And, definitely, and one thing we talked about on the high school side, and we all know this, is we're cookie cuttering students. Everybody's got to take math 1, 2, 3, and a fourth level, which, have the options. In years past, we had the technical math, which would align, this is what you need for a career in this path versus, and so that's some other work we're trying to deal with too, that you're gonna have to look at different pathways, even on the general curriculum. So if a student is going into a trade, they may not need math 3 or math 4. They might need 2 different maths, and the state hadn't done the best job with that. We're putting every kid through that same direction, and I think that's something that came out of that meeting too. We've got to think differently about progressions for students, even in the other courses too. So that you're really lining up everything for them to be successful in that career and not putting them through a course just because you gotta check, yeah, they took math 3.
Right.
It's more than that. It's gotta be something that's gonna help them sustain and be successful in a career.
So just from a prior life, at Lowe's, we had a program that, we hired. And we reached out to DCC, RCC all the time. We actually hired folks in their programs, brought them to work. They could get so many hours and work because you have to have hours in order to get certified or get a license or so many working hours. So we brought them in, put them in electrical, if that was electrical, we put them in plumbing, if that was plumbing. And basically they went to school, they gained hours by working in the aisles. They took those hours as working hours, and then they got certified. So there's a lot Lowe's, we've been doing this for about 6 years now, 7 years. So I used to email out and get people to come to work for me all the time. Didn't know as many folks at BCC as I did at RCC because they're in my backyard, but we got several employees out there and they're going on now to be electricians, plumbers, and different things. So there is an opportunity out there.
I think you have to do some kind of apprenticeship. When you
have apprenticeship work-based learning?
If they're 18.
Gotcha.
So if you're 18, Lowe's will hire you. Anything like in South Carolina, they'll hire you for 16, but in the state of North Carolina, you have to be 18 for liability purposes and different things like that. So I'll be glad to support that or get you to the right people to get you, because everybody wants to get hours and everybody's not trying to find a plumber or an HVAC guy or could be an electrician, because Mr. Rhoda's point, plumber should be an electrician because he's got to deal with power and different things all the time. So, but I'll be glad to support or help with any of that I can.
When I was at BCC, that's what they told me. I said, I just want to learn how to do plumbing. No, they get the program, so you gotta, it's a maintenance.
You got to be able to turn that power off that water heater before you can turn the water loose and then back on. So it's always good to know what wires to do what with. But anyway, I'll be glad to support with that or any information I can help.
Yes, Ms. Mills, and this goes back to the conversation you and I and the personnel at BCC were having when we had a little meet with them. The things that we need to do to make sure that the kids are transitioning from high school right into this. Are we working on those things that we talked about?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
It's designed, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good, you're good.
It's designed so that our pathways head straight into the BCC pathways.
And they get everything that they need in order to line up. So when they get to college, they're ready. It don't look like it's foreign to them is what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. So we do follow DPI curriculum.
Right,
We don't stray from DPI curriculum.
Right.
So whatever
That's a good
DPI
thing.
prescribes, I don't, whatever DPI prescribes is what we stick
I'd be
to.
happy about it.
Right.
Well, I think one thing that's been beneficial for y'all is you all are sitting down with those instructors and talking about, they're saying at BC, we need to make sure these essential skills that they come,
Yeah.
when they come to this program and vice versa. So that's definitely been helpful. Y'all just did that, last week or?
Yeah.
And so that they sat down with folks teaching those courses and talked about how we're aligning and is there something else we need to do differently on our end that you all are seeing when they come? So I think it's got to be a continual conversation.
When we were there, because they had some things they could offer, but the high school wasn't quite ready to do that. So we want to make sure that we line up properly so that we connect all the arrows, everything. It's a win-win situation.
It's all about making it a smooth path for the students.
Right. Now, one other question I have, I see agriculture on here. It's the lowest one on the sheet. Tell me why. Is that because funding being cut?
So you mean as far as enrollment goes?
Yeah,
Nobody wants to farm.
I mean, it's one of the lowest ones. The only one that's lower than that is family and consumer services, consumer science. And so I was gonna ask that next question, but those two, what can we do to improve that? Because agriculture is big in Bladen County.
It is big in Bladen County. So if you're looking specifically at East Bladen, those two programs both have one teacher. So they are maxed out. Those programs are,
So what are you telling me? We need more teachers in those areas?
well,
Or tell me what we need to do.
we would look at course requests first to tell what like which teacher we need to place where, honestly.
Mhm.
They're just doing registration now, so I'll be able to pull those in the next few weeks as far as course requests go.
Yeah,
One thing we're working on for Family and Consumer Science is actually a partnership with Bladen Community College.
mhm.
I think I have a meeting at the end of April with them to further solidify bringing in their culinary instructor in the afternoons, and that would open up more spots for our Family and Consumer Science students. The course requests are definitely there for Family and Consumer Science. I pulled those about 2 months ago before we started those conversations with BCC.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, keep us posted on the agriculture stuff, because I know they just cut a big grant. HBCUs, that was a big one. Big, I'm talking major millions of dollars.
Okay,
It's like 60 million.
okay.
And I mean, it paid for everything. It paid for everything for them. And so, ain't nothing we can do at our level about that, but we gotta do something.
Dr. Atkinson, once the information is released, as far as the course equivalency, to say this course with the public school system is equated or equivalent to this course at the community college, as long as they earn a grade of C or higher, whatever the requirements are. If I could get a copy of that, I think that'd be very, very helpful.
We'll do that. Yes, no, I'll probably get the CCP, you'll probably get the CTE, so, we'll put them together and send out everything. That'll be good.
Good.
And I think they're scheduled, next month, they should have y'all's is finished, I think, right, that's what they're promising.
Yes.
Hopefully it won't be like the allotments, had 5 times of that, so, but CTE seems to be on top of us.
Thank you, Ms. Dana.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Superstar, you know that, right?
All right, information item, 8.02, board policy review, Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Chairman, Secretary, and board members. Just provided, I mentioned you all was going through doing some looking at our list of policies and last updated date. So that has been completed. Just want to provide that for your information. We are expecting, it's about time for, I would expect spring custom policy updates to soon be coming. And I'll share a couple things in my report at the end about some things taking place in the legislature, but there have been quite a few bills that have been filed. Some kind of good, some not so good, and some we don't know what to think about. And so we'll kind of talk about it a little bit later on, but I just want to provide it for information. And obviously we'll see what comes new out of Raleigh, and we'll go from there, as well as federal. So there's still some things on hold now. As it relates to federal too, so we'll know more in the coming months. But just want to provide that for your information.
I think in February or March, one of our meetings, I can't remember which month it was a discussion about policies being, it's been several years, some over a decade between the last revision and current. And I think you said you were putting something together as far as reviewing those. How's that coming along?
That's where, in fact, this tells you right here, this is actually list when that last revision was, and I've already started some conversation that they've changed our person at the School Board Association, but I did find a couple that had actually been approved updated that were not showing in our manual. And so we're going back through just double checking some of those. A couple of ones that are governing principles, that was just a baseline. But I am encouraged that some are in the last 5 years or so, but you still have several that and again, a lot of it depends on, and from what I was told, they typically, unless there's been some kind of legislative change or some kind of procedural change, it will not appear in a custom policy. So, update. But I'll see if there's something we come across in our work, or we find a gap somewhere, then we have autonomy to make some changes in that. But we've. This took a little bit of time because that if you've been in that online manual, it takes forever. It's very slow. And so, definitely want to provide that for you all so we can kind of see where we are at this point. And I would expect there'd be a lot of changes in just by, pending legislation. And again, either way it goes, there's several various different areas that are being discussed and in potential bills or in filed bills. So I would expect a significant chunk probably of policies that might be modified in some way, shape, or form, or recommendations from the School Board Association it may be. And it may be some of these, that might be dated because, I was kind of looking to that too, to kind of say, so that might be something they're kind of dealing with now. And I think there's also some things too that, even the state has found that, we haven't really worked in this area, or we have, areas that have been addressed, and they've got to kind of work through that too. I know the state board is fixing to go through a new strategic plan, and part of that work too, is to look at some of the state board of education policies, because a lot of our policies are sub of the state boards, and some of those have been, out there for quite a bit of time. Typically like the ones we're talking about now with course progressions, that will be one they will be revising, because a lot of those things are kind of spelled out, but it's definitely it's almost like we're a subset. We have obviously autonomy as to a degree, but there is some things that we're kind of in limbo now, waiting to see what's going to come out of Raleigh, whether that be state board or whether that be out of legislature.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we'll move on to action items 9.01, approval of revised board policy 7940. Dr. Rice.
Thank you, Chairman Singletary and board members. Before any action by the board on 7940, the board will need to remove the policy revision options from the table.
So can I get a motion on the floor to remove those policy 7940 off the table?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
I have a second on the floor. All those in favor by signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Can we go by show of hand, Gary, or? Okay. Ayes. And the noes.
So stay on the table.
So we'll stay on the table. Okay. All right, so we'll go on to action item 9.02. Approval of revised policy 2230. Can I get a motion on the floor to bring it off the table?
So moved.
Do I have a second? There's no second, so it stays on the table. Okay. Action item 9.03, approval of 2025-2026 current expense budget and proposal of the county commissioners, Mrs. Harrison and Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Chairman Singletary and board members. It is that wonderful time of the year again where we are preparing the current expense budget to go to the county commissioners. As we all know, last year, and I'm going to let Ms. Harrison talk us through this in a moment. As you know, last year we made several requests, and if you served the board last year, you'll probably see the same several requests back on here because they were not funded. We will have Ms. Harrison will talk us through where we are. There are some significant things coming out of the state. We did finally get, after 5 promises, a state allotment sheet, which we cannot figure out how our ADM goes up, but they make cuts in state funds. I haven't figured that one out yet either. One particular area that really bothers me is more students. You would think you need more teachers, but our state 01 classroom teacher allocation is cut by 3.5 teachers because with more students. I haven't figured that out. Everybody is pushing back against that because we're not sure what the rhyme or reason. If your ADM is up, why are you losing teaching positions? And there's other areas. Some funds have been historical. They've either held as they are or made cuts. Obviously, there's some uncertainty. A lot of folks are on edge regarding some federal funds. We do know that some grant funding has been terminated in other areas. As of right now, I was in a meeting on Friday, and what was shared with us at this point currently is that most of the federal funds that the public schools are receiving now, in the most part, are already in a part of a continuation that the legislature or the federal government had actually already approved. It's in appropriations. So that means it would take Congress changing the appropriation. And so those funds appear to be protected. Now, we don't know They said they will obviously have adjustments, which they always have. I don't know what dollar amounts are gonna be on that. And so, you know, the question was raised, it was a group of superintendents, and we asked, well, how do you expect us to plan and work and form our boards and plan when, number one, we've got state funding the way that this came across, and it took so long to get it. Two, the uncertainty with some of the federal funds. Now, I will say there are some, Title I was actually already in place before they ever formed some of the departments in the federal government. So that funding source has kind of been around, even predates the Department of Education. And so, you know, that was one of the ones they said was a part of that stay. Our Title II, which typically does some recruitment, begin teacher program, supports in that end. That was one of the funds that is not included. And I don't figure out why, because Title II has always been a traditional one that moves forward. And so there's some uncertainties there. We don't know with special education, exceptional children. One of the proposed bills deals with a weighted formula where they would pay based upon the type of disability. We don't, and that's new for us. And they've already cut out, we used to have 2 head counts. One in the fall, the second would be in April. The state has now gone to 1 head count. Traditionally, we have picked up additional students in the spring, which usually helps us. But not having that second head count has actually hurt us. I will say that, you know, I believe, and I know every child, and I think we all agree every child deserves, even beyond the definition of free appropriate public education. But it's very difficult. We have a lot of transient students that are coming to our area, even outside North Carolina, that have some unique needs. And when the funding is not, you know, matching up to that, that's been rather difficult. And, you know, for us, even as just good moral human beings, you want to do what's best by children. That it doesn't matter about, you know, budgets, whatever. At the end of the day, every adult that cares about kids wants to do what's best for them. And I think that if anything has happened, you know, for teachers, classified staff, anybody from custodian, bus driver, cafeteria, teacher assistant, teacher, clerical, principals, AP, superintendents, board members, everybody, we're just continuing to see that it just keeps a reciprocal effect every year, just keeps going down, and we're expected to do more with less. And so, you know, we have a pretty steep ask of the county. And, you know, one thing that I think we pride ourselves on, and we said this when we went down there last year, as Ms. Harrison gets to the details of this here in a moment. You know, we'll be honest, in times past, there has been, you know, concerns about, and, you know, some things that we're still having the hurdles we have to jump through because of previous things that were done, as it relates to county money that was given to the school system and its use. I can say that, and I've told them this, and I believe y'all stand behind this as well. We will never not use funding if you give us an appropriate for a specific reason or outside those reasons. And we said that to them, and we have said that, and you know, my statement, and it's even in the budget message, that even if it comes to a place where an initiative, you know, doesn't make or something changes, we won't direct that money elsewhere without your approval. And I think that's important to have the trust with the county commissioners. I think it's important, you know, that trust relationship is there between both boards. You have to. I mean, you know, the county government has a statutory requirement to make the schools whole. So when there's gaps, the county they have a statutory requirement to do so. You know, and we know that's important. And I think that we have to give them as close to a true, accurate list of needs. What's difficult, I just got a message a moment ago, and right as the meeting was beginning, that apparently the Senate budget proposal has been released. Obviously, I haven't had time to look at it and see what the Senate's proposing. So we're expecting the chambers to come out now with that, and obviously the governor's budget that is there. We won't know how that's going to kind of iron out. Ms. Harrison can tell you for the last 2 years, we've had to do continuation budget. It's been year before last, it was November, I think, or December before we ever got a final state budget. And on a couple months more recent, that makes it difficult. because, state budgets have to be in place before they release the federal money. And so when we're trying to use carryover to, you know, cover 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that number gets low. And so, you know, I'll have Ms. Harrison kind of go through, you know, some of those things that we have. You know, we did get a little bit of movement last year on a couple items. But we do know that the need is great. Obviously, we got to be realistic too. You know, I'm sure that, you know, if there was an open checkbook that we could get. And I actually had a conversation, one of our commissioners came to the job fair the other day, and I told him, I said, look, I understand y'all have several agencies that you all have to deal with. You've got DSS, EMS, the school system, which we're part of one of their largest ones. You've got the county government, several moving parts that they've got to look out for everybody. And I just, you know, I always try to share words of appreciation that, you know, we appreciate what you all do for us. And we would be good, good folks if we didn't advocate for more as we should. I mean, always do that. But, Ms. Harrison, if you would kind of take us through, the current expense budget. We also got the things that we have for capital outlay that have always been on the radar. We've got those back on the list. If you kind of take us through that and the board has any questions, we'll be happy to.
Can I ask
Yes, sir.
you one? I seen a bill proposed to do away with classroom size and licensure. Has that got a lot of traction that you guys have heard, or?
What I'm hearing, there is some interest in that. What that basically does on the, licensure size, I think, as well as in charter, it actually will give school districts charter-like flexibility, which they haven't had before. See, our charter schools in Bladen County, all they have to have is 50% of their staff licensed. And so for school districts, that would level the playing field. That would give us, so for example, I may have a degree in business administration, and I know math inside out, but I don't have a math teaching license.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know the content and could do well, I could be one of those 50% folks that has a degree,
Right.
just not in that math area, and I can step in and teach math and probably be very successful.
Mm-hmm.
That also, I think, is a plus when you got folks that are working, you know, some folks that retire out of business or, you know, out in the workforce, they can come in and bring those experiences to us. So there's definitely a win on that, but I do think it's catching traction. That would, again, put us where we're all on the same playing field as relates to that part of staff. So that is definitely a part of that conversation. The class size is too, right now, we're restricted in K3. You can go +3. And so that would take that away. And it never fails. Every district, they'll have a school or two that's gonna push that 1 or 2. The ironic thing is they have you do a waiver. They always deny the waiver. But we're not God. We cannot create people. If they're not there, we can't, I mean, so in April, if a first grade classroom has 1 too many kids, you know, number one, it's gonna be very hard to find someone that wants to come in and work for 2 months on a temporary contract, really, because you can't give them a full year to teach second grade. So those are kind of barriers we're up against. I think that some of those flexibilities will definitely help us.
Mr. Ruddy, you got a question before we get going?
Yes, I was looking at the proposed budget to take to the county commissioners, and I see where we don't have our tracks there. We voted for these tracks a year ago.
The tracks are on there.
Yes, sir. They're there.
On there.
Where are?
We gave them, on the capital side, we gave them the 2 options we had before, do one at both high schools or do one at town middle, so they're both on there.
And I also see where we're talking about doing a $2 million thing on Bladenburg Auditorium. And I think we knocked that down before because of a lot of crazy reasons.
Well, it was on our capital needs list originally, and we basically took everything that was on the 5-year plan they have, so we listed everything on there because we have to turn that in, and that's every year. And so what ends up happening is we don't get really not a lot of traction happens on capital. We keep listing everything we've had on there for year to year. Because I mean, if we don't keep it on the radar, that's why, you know, the Tar Heel School construction was the first part. You had the 2 additions that were going to do the field house was number 3, and then the other projects and then had tracks and everything else just kind of fell on there. But we've had some things we just carried over from year to year.
So who did the capital meeting?
That's we just carried over what we've had. It's been no new discussion on anything.
It's the 5-year plan.
The 5-year plan that was approved a while back.
Every 5 years, we have to update it.
And and if they gave you on the capital, if they gave us $10 million, the board still has flexibility where to direct that 10 million to. You just list what the list of potential capital needs are. It's not saying that's gonna be the project that's gonna be done. You just have to list everything on, because you want everything that's been on that 5-year plan, you want to keep on the radar, so that the funding will continue to come. Doesn't necessarily mean that will be done. And obviously, I think we have a lot of other, needs, and we know that are on our priority needs that are on that list. So, but again, listing just everything that would be on that 5-year.
So if you want to go ahead, and then if we got some discussion, we can talk about it at the end as well.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, keep in mind as I'm going through this is only the current expense budget. So this is the local budget that we go to the county commissioners and we are funded by the county commissioners. This does not include the state, because we don't have say-so about the state. That comes to us based on, like Dr. Atkinson said, we just got projected allotments for next year. I actually have a webinar about that in the morning, again, because there's a lot of, confusion, because they are funding us in arrears this year. This is the first year this has been done. So they're actually funding us now on last year's numbers, which is going to be difficult because we have about 200 more kids right now than we had at the numbers they were looking at. If we look at it in that situation, our numbers have grown, our ADM's grown, but they're giving us less money for that. So that's a big discussion across the state. It's totally across the state. And when our allotments finally came out this past week, Thursday, was it Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday? There was a lot of discussion with DPI about this. We had a webinar. So just keep in mind as I'm going through this is just the current expense budget. This is only local funding that comes from the county, okay? So you've got a detailed proposed current expense budget that's got your line items on it. And then I've given you a summary. So just to summarize what we're asking for this year, these are the additions. And like Dr. Atkinson said, the ones of you that were here last year will see these are pretty much a lot of the same things we asked for last year, with the increase with the salaries and increase with benefits. So we talked last year about the recruitment bonus, matching the recruitment bonus. If federal funds would give $30,000, the county would give $30,000. We would have about $60,000 for recruitment of teachers and employees that we need that are at in some of our positions we can't get. So that would be a $30,000. Assistant principal pay. This is so that we would have assistant principals in all of our schools, because we only get 4 assistant principals from the state. That's all they pay for out of our 12. So we're asking that the county would help with that. Increase in coaching supplements, $50,000. We discussed also the teacher assistants, adding across 3 years, adding teacher assistants each year. And this would be the beginnings of adding the 5 teacher assistants, 1 per 2nd grade team in each elementary school. The next line in your summary is Invest in Bladen, which is a program that we came up with that would help teacher assistants to earn a teaching degree, and we would help pay their tuition and their books, travel, those types of things. And then salary benefits, we still have not received anything from the state on what they think the salary increase or the benefit increases are going to be for this coming year. The only thing they've given us is kind of figuring a 4% increase across the board, 5% increase for hospitalization and retirement. At this point, that's what they're telling us to do. They're not certain either. And then, of course, as we all know, utilities, legal services, and property insurance is all increased for all of us. So that's $354,000. So we're asking the county this year for 1.164 as an increase to our local current expense budget. That is what we will go to the county and ask for, with the summary that tells exactly what we're asking for, which is what we did last year, and they didn't give us a penny. So in our current expense budget.
I have a question in regards to the benefits. It says salary and benefits, $186,000 plus some odd dollars, so 4% for salary. So didn't the state get away from Blue Cross Blue Shield as the insurance provider? And
we have Aetna.
Aetna. So is that more expensive?
No, the actual cost is the same right now, but every year they have an increase on what the employer portion pays. Right now, we're paying $8,094 per employee for employee insurance. So that's not including, like, for instance, myself.
Well, isn't that based on age? Because when we do it, it depends on what category the person falls
Right
into.
across. Yep.
State.
State.
And one thing I'll point out too, I know it sounds, that salary benefits number is just for local paid employees, that's not our state.
Okay, that's, okay.
Yeah, that's.
The number seemed pretty low. I was trying to.
Yeah, that's just local paid employees, that's
Yes.
not anybody that's paid from local funds.
Keep in mind that this is your, a lot of your clerical folks, not all of them, because I try to get as many as I can out of state funds, because state funds is, we know we're gonna get state funds. Most of what is paid out of your local funds is gonna be your maintenance folks, a few of your clerical people, a few of your, technology folks. Those are the kinds of positions that come out of the local budget because the state does not provide funding for those positions. So we have to take those out of local.
So, yes, well. When it says recruiting bonuses, that was my other question, that we're looking for an increase from 30,000 to 60,000. What bonuses are given? Is that for new employees that they have a sign-on bonus?
This is not increasing from 30 to 60. We're asking for us, we'll pay 30,000 out of our federal budget. Yeah,
County's gonna
the
use.
county would match it for 30.
Okay, so what are we doing now?
When we had ESSER funds, which was the COVID funding, we were able to do recruitment bonuses. We were able to give $1,000 bonus for somebody that came for us if we were in, needed a position, or we gave, what were they? It was $2,500.
You know, high needs and everything.
It was based on the need of the position.
Yeah.
And we had the board approved a bonus schedule for that during that time. But when that funding was over, we didn't have the funds to, pay that. So that's when we came up last year, which was in last year's budget also, that if the county would give us 30, we found an opportunity with federal funds that we could use the 30,000 to do,
All of our balls.
like retention bonuses and recruitment bonuses. I think this was pretty much just recruitment. We did retention and recruitment with the ESSER funding.
Okay, now I understand, let's go with the retention piece of it though. Is that still the 1,000 to 2,500?
1,000 to 2,500.
You said that bonus.
Have it in
No, we don't have that anymore.
That was
That was
that
when we
expired
had
with
ESSER
ESSER.
funding.
It was in September last year, right?
That was the end of it. ESSER funding, after last September 30th, we had no more ESSER funding.
Well, I'll tell you another interesting fact about this, they didn't know this too. As relates to ESSER, and we still haven't figured this out yet. Of all the money that came to North Carolina, only 20% of all that money went to education. So we have no clue where the other 80% of that money went across the state, but only 20% was carved out for education. And so that was very eye-opening. We got that fact. I'm like, well, so, here we were trying to wrestle and, and there was actually some state surplus left. They got an extension on, I believe. And we have applied to it. I think we're eligible for 200,000.
Correct.
But they've specified some areas we have safety and things like that. So we're applying to get 200,000 that back. We won't know, that we asked for the max award. They probably won't get, if we get it, we probably won't get it until July 1, I'm thinking. But that of all that, there was still, there was more money that could have assisted school districts that we never saw.
Jason, did you check into the money that I talked to you about?
Yes, and Ms. Harrison has worked with him on that. That is for some of the innovation.
$5 million.
Do I now?
I think it was like $1.5 million.
It is, it's part of lottery funding. I know Mr. Lennon is working on a potential roof replacement. We're gonna have to have a Elizabethtown primary. That'll be a part of that. And so he's been working with the engineer, so we expect a bid package soon for that. That's one of the projects that we'll need. So yeah, we are planning to tap in that money.
So
Yes, sir. They did, what's crazy is they never advertised that at large to school systems. All we knew about was the capital needs. you know, and
That's
just,
why it's good to go to these meetings, man, so you know what's available. Can't bring it back if you don't go.
yeah. Well, I mean, I go to meetings, but I mean,
I have been told about that.
yeah, they share that with,
It's just,
We know that.
they ain't gonna pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, can
Oh,
you
yeah.
come get this 1.5 million? We gotta.
no, they're gonna keep,
Doing that.
And just to make sure that we don't have that money, they just don't send us that money. We
Right.
have to send them
Right.
projects,
Right,
and then at that
right,
point, we
right,
would get the
yeah,
money.
yeah,
So I didn't
she
want you to
explained
think we
that.
had that.
She explained that, yeah. I mean, but it's our money.
It's available.
It is.
Yes.
Just like our
and I
lottery.
don't know why they've been so secretive about that. I mean, they talked about it at the school board's conference, obviously, but they never, you know, when we've had those folks in, all they talk about is needs-based capital. Well, I thought we had a drop down, knock out of the park proposal for needs-based on those two.
It's for construction and repairs, but
Right.
our money. And when I was talking to her, she was like, why y'all not getting this money?
Because they
Why
haven't
you haven't
indicated, I mean,
So what do you mean? She
And
said,
even-
we got 1.5 million sitting here.
yeah, Nathan Mahoney in our meeting had never said
No.
about that renovation money to us till you told me and we
Yeah.
called.
She
He
said,
never-
You need to let them know they got this money sitting here.
No, so I mean, definitely it's, you know, that could be a help. But, now I do know that the governor is asking potentially for a state bond for school construction and renovations in addition. So that's one thing that was shared with us. He actually spoke at the conference that we were at. And that's one thing he's proposing. And they're trying to get, you know, support. And I think there's some buy-in on both sides of the house, even on that. Because we do have a lot of aging buildings and things that are needed. So that goes, that's part of the governor's budget proposal.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I knew we were trying to get these classrooms at both the schools, and I mean, we need that money.
Mhm.
And if we can't buy brand new buildings, we can buy softly used buildings and do repairs to them, and it's like having a new building. So we don't have the issue with the oversized classes and all that stuff. You know, all that.
Yeah, we needed those two, we need those multi-purpose classroom buildings years ago at those two schools.
Yeah.
So we're gonna reapply again, because that one falls under needs base because of the amount.
Yeah, right.
But we're gonna hit it again as soon as they release that window back out. So we've got, I think our packet was good. I don't know if it's because they funded Tar Heel previously and they just wanted to spread it across.
Mhm.
But you know, we're tier one county. I mean, we pop on that list every time. I mean, I would have thought sure we would have picked up another, because we were, in essence, we were doing something a lot of folks we're trying to bless two school sites
Right.
rather than just one. And so, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, we'll definitely work that. We need to, when that window comes, we need to really hit our legislators hard and say, watch out for Bladen County, because we need that support to.
But we need to be doing our footwork now,
Right.
getting our pricing together, know what we want to buy, what we want to purchase, all that good stuff.
My biggest fear is our costs are gonna be up, because that was last year, so we know construction costs have gone up, so. We'll need to kind of go back and do some soft, numbers, and then, because it had to be bid if we get awarded. But, probably what we had proposed, the county match may have to go up a little bit, for that, but we'll have to see once we kind of get a little closer to time, but.
This lottery fund, is it new construction and to remodel? Or is it get remodeled?
It's two different funds. One is designated for the remodeling, and this one here that was gonna be for Bladenboro and Littletown, that's part of the needs-based capital. So that could be brand new construction, versus the other fund has to be some kind of renovation.
Repairs and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I think that target has to be an academic building for that renovation, I believe. So it cannot be like it's like somebody want to redo their board building or a training center for the school. You couldn't do that. It had to be an academic building, so.
Or they made it an academic building after it was built. Well, I saw some things that I didn't like, because I felt like we should have been higher on the list, and I've seen some schools get some pretty good sized weight rooms and different things. It was very disappointing, to be honest with you. And when I saw some things, I was following some things and different stuff, but I thought, again, maybe it was because of Tar Heel, but at the end of the day, we needed it better, worse than the places I saw that was getting these nice weight rooms and sports facilities and things like that, and it was all coming out of that money you were speaking about. So it was really I say it's a little hurtful, because we needed that stuff a long time ago. We needed it, we need it now. And you think about building a facility now, it'll be, if we get it, then you're talking what, 2 to 3 years, could be longer, to get something like that even So it was just, you know,
And the challenge in even that too is, you know, not just to help with the load in the building now, but it would also provide that room to return fifth grade back at elementary level in every one of our schools. And that's definitely, you know, it's tough for fifth graders being in a middle school building.
Yeah.
Developmentally, it's just tough.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do that here. I mean, because we don't have the space for them, but that would definitely help.
Jason,
Yes, sir.
you talking about E-Town Primary, how many kids we got from the Bladen Lakes area go to school here?
I would have to pull that, but there are some that are attending Worcester Primary that would be in Bladen. And when it was originally done, and that's before my time, I know that when they did and that's something we talked about looking at too, as a part of this and kind of doing a reconfiguration, is take a look again at our attendance zones. Because you've got a large section of White Lake that actually attendance zone is Elizabethtown when you actually get to Bladen Lakes before you get to Elizabethtown. And so that was done, you know, and so part of that is we might need to look at some of our numbers there. And the board could always, I mean, we could even predate, because the goal was to try to get it all maneuvered at the same time, so that, you know, we're not doing a portion here, portion there, and get real confusing. But it is something that we could look at now. The board always has the option to reassign students or redo to attendance zones. So what I could do, if that's something y'all interested in, have Mr. Goss to, because you know he works the TIM system, get us the bus line boundaries, attendance zones for everybody, and we take a look at them. We could always you know, see where we are. We could provide some potential recommendations. And it's nothing unusual. Boards do it all the time. If we want to make a change in attendance zone, we do it. We send out letters and say, based on your other attendance zones, your school will now be X. You'll, you know, enroll, will transfer the records and all. But it is a possibility, Ms. Rhoda, which it could. Bladen Lakes does have some area. There are obviously some building needs out there as well that we need to kind of look at. And you know that's on the radar too. Some concerns they've shared with us there. But definitely that is an option. You know, yeah, both of them and Bladenboro. Again, I don't know that it would solve getting fifth grade back, but it would offload some of the strain in those two buildings now. But obviously the construction part of it would definitely be the answer to getting fifth grade back for sure. Plus that space to be indoors, physical education when it's raining and things like that. And so, you know, really, those two schools, and then Bladen Lakes does not have a multi-purpose facility either, to have anything indoors. So, you know, East Arcadia has. Yeah, Tar Heel does, obviously now with new construction. Obviously, middle school by default, we have areas. And so, you know, at one point, many years ago, I don't know if I was assistant superintendent or not, but at one point, there was the three multi, Bladen Lakes was a part of that, but because of how that funding was structured, it was dropped to just Bladenboro and Elizabethtown as the first priority, and then to add on Bladen Lakes multi-purpose. But the goal would be to get those numbers up. Right now, if y'all give me a sec, I can pull up. I've done some initial projections of what student numbers look like. Again, we're in a new data system, so I'm not 100% set that these are actually accurate. But it kind of gives an idea of where we are. In just a moment, pull this up.
What grades are this?
That'll be for grade span per enrollment per school. This is this is rough. Let me get to. I've got too many folders. Let me get to allotments. Hold on. And I have Miss Kirby run that for us about every week to kind of see. We still got some transitional students that are moving, and we're trying to get placed in the right building, but. If you all decide to do something with attendance zones, that might also be, you know, some help there. So again, this is very rough. And so right now, this does not include pre-K because they're doing registration now, and we're just assuming kindergarten based on average. So like Bladenboro Primary without pre-K, $395, Bladen Lakes, $141, Dublin, $219. East Arcadia, $70. Elizabethtown Primary, $434. Tar Heel, this is just and the Tar Heels is unique. This is K4 189. That's how I pulled the report.
Tar Heel.
Tar Heels 189 for K4, and I'll come back and pick them up on the middle school side. Bladensboro Middle, 275. Clarkton, 130. Elizabethtown Middle, 342. Tar Heel Middle grades, 5-8 is 249. And so really Tar Heel will be at 438 together, and that's K8. Early College, 137, East Bladen, 493, and West Bladen, 711. Again, these are fluid, but that's kind of a rough number about where we are right now. Just kind of, you know, if we had to open tomorrow and everybody passed and we felt like we had everybody to rise.
East again?
East Bladen, 493.
What was Bladensboro primary?
Bladensboro primary is 395. And so you've got Bladensboro primary, Bladen Lakes, Dublin, and Elizabethtown primary, and Tar Heel. That is not accounting for their pre-K that would be there. So those numbers would go up. I think roughly, is it 180, 190 pre-K slots I think we have. That's to the school system. That's not to Head Start, whatever. And so it's not unusual for Bladensboro primary to have 2 to 3 classes of pre-K. Elizabethtown primary also holds the EC pre-K. That's additional students that will be there. Dublin has 1. Tar Heel has 1, could probably have 2. And so definitely, you know, and early education is one of those areas too that, and in fact, the county strategic plan talks about that. One of the things that Bladen County struggles with is childcare for families. And a part of that too is obviously pre-K early start programs. One thing that was one of the conversation, one of the committees I was on when we did a strategic plan probably 2 or 3 years ago, was talking about that they would love to have an universal pre-K, but you've got to have the space and, you know, the funding for that. And that was something I don't know that maybe the county was looking at maybe trying to seek or be an advocate for. There is some push for that across the state too, where every 4-year-old would be able to have pre-K services potentially. Right now, you know, obviously there's certain criteria they have to meet to get a slot in the pre-K. But I mean, if the portals would open, we obviously have more pre-K students.
The numbers that you actually shared in relation to Elizabethtown primary, Elizabethtown middle school, and Bladensboro primary, Bladensboro middle. Seems like the numbers in the primary school are much higher.
They are.
So is there a rhyme or reason as to why we're losing students as we're transitioning from primary school to middle school?
Well, you know, and one thing that's, you know, I guess you have some based on attendance on, so for example, by default, part of Bladensboro's 4th grade, and actually a portion of Elizabethtown primary's 4th grade may end up at Clarkton, because they actually, Booker T, there's no elementary schools, so they're kind of split between Bladensboro and Clarkton now to attend elementary. So Booker T closed, those students were divided among Elizabethtown primary and Bladensboro primary. And so part of that's that number. That's why you might see a reduction going to 5th grade, because students are actually going to be they actually live in Clarkton's attendance zone. You know, and same kind of thing too with you know, East Arcadia in grade 5, they feed, you know, some go to Elizabethtown primary, and then we do have requests. So, you know, East Arcadia specifically, you may have parents that work in Columbus County, or actually East Columbus is a whole lot closer for that family than to come all the way to town. So sometimes families may apply and do that. Sometimes we get requests that families work in Brunswick County take their children with them to school there in Brunswick. We try to obviously honor that when parents are working. So I think a lot of the transitional grades, we do see a little fall off there. And, you know, high school, it tends to pick back up. You know, now I will say East and West Bladen were very, very close number wise. But over time, that number has decreased some. And so, you know, West is significantly larger, both the same floor plan. But, you know, one thing that I think that has spoke volumes is that we do from time to time get quite a few of folks out of county want to come to Bladen because they feel like our schools are safer. And that, I mean, that's a testament, that's a good thing. But obviously, we want to make sure we're also taking care of current students, so we examine those based on if there's room. Like right now, and typically we do this, we don't take transfers into Bladenboro Primary, Tar Heel at this point, or Litchtown Primary, just because there's no room. You have to literally move in that attendance zone moving forward, unless you've already been attending there, or there's a sibling there. We do try to honor that, because we don't want parents to drop kid A off in third grade, Litchtown Primary, and have to go back and backtrack and take their first grade child somewhere. So we try to keep families together. But we've had to do that and say, if you don't have meet those conditions, the school's not an option for you to attend unless you live in that attendance zone. So looking at those attendance areas might be a way to look at, and that might also help us too on the budget side a little bit too. All this stuff kind of works together. The investment in the school system. And folks ask that question, when I move this area, what's going to be my school? So that's one of the things we need to talk about too. And so that could be a kind of an aligned conversation with our budget. And we stand to pick, we're already plus 200 where we were, which is great. Actually, some of the earlier meetings, we were told Bladen County's population is going down, but I saw something the other day that said Bladen and Columbus actually projecting population to go up, which is a big thing for us. More families, more students, might help with stimulating the economy, additional schools, school construction. So it's definitely a win-win and bigger tax base, because when you see the information on capital outlay, that's all funded by sales tax. So the more people spend in Bladen County, the more money is available to the school system to use in sales tax. And so that's how our capital outlay is funded, based off the sales tax that's collected, the local side of the sales tax. So we don't get the full 6.5%. We only get the local portion of that, which I think is 2.75. The state is 4%. So the state gets 4% off of that. But
No, Atkinson, I know you provided your numbers for the schools. Are you able to, I don't know if you have this, for Paula Brown Leadership Academy? And then how many students are homeschooled?
Yeah, I would have to look that up. Homeschool is not always accurately reported from Raleigh. And then one thing to think about with our charters too, is they also accept non-Bladen County students. Right. I don't know if we had that broken down, but I can get enrollment numbers for them where they are now. I don't know necessarily that we would have as many, how many are Bladen County residents versus not. And then we do have a handful of students that attend charter school outside of Bladen County. Harrison gets bills from them from time to time. Columbus is also a seventh day.
We had 8 charter schools that we send funding to every month.
So, so it's not just our 2 in Bladen.
Do you know who those 8 are? Right off the
Not off the top of my head. Thomas Academy.
Can you send them
Roger
to us?
Bacon. I can.
And then the dollar amount as well. You can tell us the dollar amount that you send for each student.
Yeah, it fluctuates year. We can give it to you. We can give it to you what we've paid every month this year so far. Because they bill us 2
more counties.
Yeah, they bill us. They bill us based on the number of students that are Bladen County residents. And so what we can have, Ms. Harrison can pull for it is what we've paid so far this school year by month to each charter school. I'll send that to you. If you'll give her a couple of days, we'll get it to you.
And send us those numbers that you just gave us on the school.
I can do that.
I missed 1 or 2.
We'll do that. And I may, if Ms. Kirby has anything updated, I might can have an updated list, but if not, I'll send you what we got here. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Susan, you good? Got anything else you want
to? I can go over the chart on the capital need.
Sure.
Okay. If you look at the list too, this is in your board docs of the capital needs that we were just discussing, the multi-purpose buildings at Bladenboro Primary and Elizabethtown Primary. Again, these are things that we asked for last year. Activity buses, 2 activity buses per year for the next 3 years. Our activity buses are very old. Field House, East Bladen and West Bladen. Track options. That's option 1, 2. Option 1 is East Bladen and West, and option 2 is one at Elizabethtown Middle to cover the county. Number 5 is upgrade entrances for safety at all schools. Vehicles, this is put in our budget every year to purchase vehicles to upgrade the fleet and our delivery vehicles and our technology. We kind of use a kind of go through each what we've done as far as the fleet, and we just kind of rotate to get those vehicles. So that's the needs for this year. Existing repairs and maintenance, which is the estimated $100,000, and the furniture you'll see there. The Bladenboro Middle School auditorium, paving the driveways at Bladenboro Primary and Dublin Primary. The HVAC system, Bladenboro Middle School and Clarkton.
And those two gyms do not have, air conditioning in them,
Correct.
so.
Bleachers, I'm sorry.
So you good, that's good.
Bleachers at Elizabethtown Middle School. This is for the,
I'm sorry, Ms. Harris. You said Clarkson School Discovery don't have HVAC?
on their gym.
I ain't got no
What
AC.
happened to it? I mean, when I was over there last, they were fixing it.
They were packed, but it needs to be replaced. The air, they've had, I think the heat has worked, but the air,
The air.
right, Mr. Lynn?
They told me that they were.
Right, the heat's fine, but it's the air conditioner
Well,
part of it.
I was told they had identified the problem. And then they were putting that part brand new back in there, cause they were doing the floor and all that stuff and, the walls and stuff were being repainted, cause all the heat had got to them and done the same thing that happened over here at E-Town Middle. So.
There was, I think that was a heating element that I think that they were working on, but it was not, the air conditioner part has not been in there. And so we've written that back in again, the AC for those two gyms. It's almost unbearable, especially we get closer toward, about now when
It's probably unbearable right now.
Yeah, these 80-degree days, it's just
3 degrees.
not worth getting kids sick in that. It's like, sometimes it's cooler, they're cooler outside than they are to be in that gym.
We already have an estimate on that and all that already?
Ms. Lynn, have you got any bids on that yet? No, not yet, but okay.
The air conditioning, like the car, they got to redo they got that old power supply.
So everything got all the building working, everything.
It won't hold it the way.
So even the power can be redone, so just older gyms. The floors had been done in both of them. We did that a couple years, and the painting. But if we don't do something soon, that painting's gonna be null and void pretty much.
Yeah, cause it's gonna be so hot and it's gonna peel off. It's gonna be like be right over there.
Right, and on the bleachers over here, we talked about that, the inspector had, and Mr. Lennon, correct me if I'm wrong. They had there was no issue, or they didn't state an issue on the upper level, because it's the little lower level where those gaps are. I think he had told us in the report to do, focus on the lower level first. And then maybe look at the second level secondary, but the biggest issue in that gym is the bleachers on the ground level. That's our main gym for graduation and things like that, so, definitely sees a lot of people in there. But that was one thing, I think it came up last month too about that, that was a part of the report. And at the time, they had passed it, but I don't think it's gonna pass that inspection now, if they came back, because it's gotten worse.
Jason, in the old days, they didn't build gyms in schools for air conditioning because of, you out of school from end of May to September.
Right.
So they didn't build gyms for air conditioning. They didn't struck anything for air conditioning. They had big windows, and they had the windows where they wouldn't be going in from the west. They'd be coming in from the north. They built schools that way.
Right.
They constructed them that way, so you didn't need air conditioning.
No, we need it now. That's for sure.
Yeah, it gets hot now, I tell you it does.
Ms. Harrison, can we get a copy of what we've done in the last year on capital outlay? Please send that to us.
All right, guys, any other discussion, so we can get a motion on the floor? All right, so can I get a motion on the floor to approve the 2025-2026 current expense budget proposal to the county commissioners? I have a second. All those in favor by saying aye. All those opposed. Motion carries.
And Chairman Secretary, board members, just for your information, Ms. Harris and I are scheduled to present to the county commissioners at their May 5th meeting.
Thank you, sir.
May 5th meeting.
All right, guys, we'll go into closed session, to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel as per NCGS 143.318.11 to consult with an attorney if needed. As per NCGS 143.318.11, and to discuss student reassignment and student discipline as per the 1974 Family Rights and Privacy Act. Can I get a motion on the floor to go into closed session? Okay. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Session.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there too. I'll be there. You just believe it. I'll be right there. So, at least 5 hours.
Oh, God, I'm still trying. Sometimes it's the one. We don't ever know, yeah. Sometimes you have a long agenda and it really won't nobody. I said, I'm gonna quit calling it because it.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Good job, Susan.
Well, thank you, sir. You good?
Good. How are you?
What math is he doing? I mean, it's like 57, what's that, 67? I looked right at your face and I was like, oh.
It's working good.
Uh-oh.
Lost an error here. I lost an error here.
It was had to leave and it's like I had to leave.
Morris Rhoda coming.
It's the rest.
Give him a minute.
To do it?
So we're waiting on Mr. Rhoda because Steve and Dennis left.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
That's good.
I was just waiting on like so we could get us back in there.
got a quorum, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we got five on there. Just look.
Can I get a motion on the floor to bring us out of closed session?
Make a motion that we come out of closed session. Say.
I got a second on the floor. All those in favor by signifying by saying aye. Aye. Noes. Motion carries. Action item 11.01. Can I get a motion on the floor to approve it? I got a second as well. All those in favor by signifying by saying aye. All opposed. Motion carries. Matters to the board.
Jason, as far as the beta clubs, what type of assistance are we giving them to make sure that they can get this trip done and accomplished? Because it's terrible for them to go through all this work that they're doing to get to the point they are, and then they get ready to go to the state and they can't make the trip because lack of funding. I mean, I know that the teachers and stuff are helping them as much as they can, but through raising money, things of that sort. But what is the district doing to help them?
Well, and we're very limited in what we can do on district funds. In previous years, we had ESSER. ESSER was less restrictive, so we used some ESSER dollars to help them. But Title I will not allow us to use those funds for that beta trip. Because of the obviously the competition element. We've really tried to support fundraisers, do that kind of thing, but we're kind of limited. And that might be something that we could potentially add in budget request down the road, and we have in years past. I know that we've asked county commissioners to help sponsor students because they have a funding source, and that might be something we could ask them consider. Would they, since it's representing the county, would you all consider to give X $1,000 to support our students to go? That has been done in the past before too. That's something we could petition them for if the board would like for us to ask them.
Yeah, I mean, so we don't have anything that we can give them?
It would have to be local, all locals budgeted out for this year. So everything is, Ms. Harrison's in the short roads with that now.
Because I've talked to some of the other school districts and to see how they do it. And it's definitely something that they prepare for early on. It's actually somewhat of a line item.
Yeah.
I think they're pulling from different funds.
Right.
It depends on, who you're talking to, but,
and we can go back and
they're prepared to assist the kids. It's bad for them to go that far and then we fail them by not having the assistance that they need.
And just like, for example, like, Dr. Ruffin stepped out, with Environthon, they're going to the state, we're able to assist that because that falls under Title IV because that's STEM. But it's just, part of the challenge has been, and they've gotten really, and Mr. Croft can speak to this, they've gotten more and more stringent on Title I for trips. And Mr. Croft, you probably can speak to that. They've put a lot more restrictions about hotels and that kind of thing that you could not use that's our biggest money source that could very easily probably do it. But they've put some restrictions in place. One thing I think a lot of districts are doing, if they add it, it might be one of those requests they make to the county and add it to the local side, which we could add that to our request. It's not, wouldn't change the asking for a budget, we could also put in our budget message, would you consider sponsoring our students?
So do we need to add that in now before you go and talk to the county commission?
I mean, I could put that in my budget message, because that's for me, I can
I
add.
mean, we need to get that done. I mean, it's not right for them to work as hard as they work and then they get to the point of going to the state.
Yeah.
Cause some districts don't even get that far.
Yeah, well, we got to the state, it's the national, that's.
I mean national.
Yeah, the national's the biggest.
I mean national.
Yeah, the national's the biggest thing right now, and like I said, when we had ESSER, we were able to give them quite a bit so much, and we even had a host of district fundraiser for them too. I think we gave so much per child when we had ESSER funding, because that was not restricted, you could pretty much use that for whatever. That's one thing we've kind of pushed back on is a lot of these extra restrictions that are preventing us from doing things like that. But I would think probably local budget, if any, would be where we had to add something moving forward. And, you know, because that national move, some years more expensive, others depends on where they're at. They're going to Florida this year.
Yeah, we
Just
just gotta
hefty.
get some though. We can't leave out there with nothing, man.
But I mean, and
We gotta find-
pleasure, I can go make it, when I go on 6, I could do a secondary request for them to sponsor. And request them to you know, give X thousand.
I know the first question the county commission is gonna answer, what'd you do with the money you had?
Yeah.
Are we prepared to answer that question?
Oh, yeah, I can tell them real quick. We can tell them real quick.
That, yeah, I mean, they gonna say,
Hey,
they know we,
they will.
they don't wanna know what we spent on.
And Ms. Harrison can tell you, I tell them, we don't have anything to hide. I don't know how business was done before all those problems. But I can tell you right now, if we tell you we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. And if we won't, we'll come and tell you we couldn't do it and why, and we'll ask you for it. So I don't have a problem asking them. If that's the board's pleasure, I don't have a problem asking, would you all provide an additional 25,000, 30,000 to sponsor our kids to Beta? It could be a separate request that could be made to them. And I could do that while we're down there. I'll just tell them, give us 2 agenda items, give us the budget, and then give us another item for request for Beta support.
What about these companies that we partner with?
That's another option too, Mr. Roden. I know our educational foundation gives a little bit, they stay with the fundraising they do, but it's not a large amount. As our principals, district admin are part of that and other,
So how much are they giving us this year?
Smithfield and other companies that are business partners,
With Smithfield, even?
unless they've done something with schools directly, that would be another possibility too. And Mr. Johnson could actually do something on behalf of the district, out to our businesses and ask what they consider sponsoring students. Give me all. That's another option too. We can, ask them all.
So who we gonna put in place to spearhead that? Because we got the time now, but we need somebody in place to look at it, so when the time comes, we got the money.
Yeah, well, I can deal with the county commissioners because I'm y'all's representative for
Good
that.
job.
I can have Ms. Johnson to do a push to our businesses and see about trying to get that, and maybe even with Ms. Mize as well too. But some of our groups that do internships and things with our CTE students might be another group we can. I'm sure there's some of those kids that are involved in CTE and may even be working for some of these businesses as well too. So.
We probably need to get a number or like an average number.
Yeah.
Cause I know one of the biggest disappointments was the groups, the Song Fest groups and
Right.
different things. There was a lot of folks there, cause it gets down to the end where you can't, everybody can't go or meet the $900 or $1,000.
My daughter went, it was very expensive. I think, well, you know, and that's when my son was born, for my daughter, myself, and my wife to go.
I think the magic number is
$2,500 out of it.
dollars or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's
Something like that. I mean, just speaking to the Beta Club students that approached me about it, but we need to do something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the parent approached me about it,
Right.
but students was there, so. But we need to do something.
I've got, I meet with principals Wednesday. I can ask them to kind of tell us what their cost is. And then we can kind of figure out an average, at least make a dent in it. If the child had to, it would be, you know, minimal maybe if.
If they're close, then we could, figure it out.
You know,
Yeah,
cause that deserve, every child that qualifies deserves to go.
everybody deserves to go and qualify.
Yeah.
That's just-
It's a good experience. My daughter enjoyed it when she went. And they were in Nashville that year. She went qualified for that.
And I'll get back with my associate at the other counties and see what they're doing. Maybe they can give me some more
So
information.
I had to guess they probably set aside, and you know, that's something we hadn't done.
But I know
before.
one county is, but the other one I hadn't heard from him.
Yeah. I'm thinking that maybe that might be what they end up doing, having to carve it out in local, which we can do some shifting around if that's something I mean, because once we get the current expense numbers, I mean, we can shift things around as long as, I mean, we're in that, what we give the county is actually summary by category, so we do have flexibility to work in the categories, so we could we get on the new budget, I wouldn't fix this year, but next year we could carve out a set aside for beta maybe and just shift, revamp some things on that.
And are we touching base with the hotels and stuff to make sure we get a good rate and all that?
All of them are crazy expensive, everyone. And that's block, it's crazy what they're charging block rate. And Mr. Eddings and Ms. Lennon and others, it's probably $300 and $400 a night. And they say that's the discount.
Discount.
See, you're at Disney too, so that makes first.
But I tell you, it is crazy.
Discount.
It's crazy what they charge.
So you're down at Disney, so that just makes it even worse.
Yeah, that don't make it no better.
That don't make it no better.
God, mercy. We gotta do something, man. We gotta do something.
They'll leave the light on for you.
Actually, a lot of other things too.
Somebody look into that stuff for us, so we can kind of get a number as to what we're looking at.
Yeah, I'll, if y'all use acclamation, I'll do my part with the county when I go down for the budget reports on the 3rd.
All right, so just a couple of things. One was I was able to attend the Spring Law 2025 conference. I'm waiting for my CEUs to come in, so as soon as I have that, I'll forward that to Ms. Johnson.
Did that form out they sent you?
I did, yeah, I did that. So thanks, kudos, Ms. Johnson, for getting everything to me, kind of lighting the path for me, so I appreciate it. A lot of good information. And those that don't know, my biggest regret is not going to law school. So that's why I asked so many questions. And so the LSAT kind of scared me. So my daughter's studying for it, so I can live vicariously through her if she does go to law school. So anyway, I said that to say, one of the things that touched on was something that we mentioned last week, and it was in regards to school closure and school closures. Not popular decisions, but we did discuss earlier in tonight's meeting, East Arcadia projected number around 70 students. So we are coming to the close of the 2024-2025 school year. So where are we with the decision, or at least starting the conversations as to what the outcome will be? Because you have a lot of parents, a lot of concerned folks, and that school has been there for a very long period of time, and folks are uncertain as to what the outcome.
I can say that from my end, I'm not making any recommendation for the 25-26 school year, so we'll.
Got you.
But, we had started some conversation and went to like a phase 1, as other things previously. But I do see that we're gonna have to come back when we come back from the summer and start looking at things really closely. And I think too, and not saying schools closing or open, whatever, we need to look at that, our attendance zones, look at the district as a whole. And that way we can do some shifting. You could do a reconfiguration of a school. And I'm sure, and I was in some of those sessions, there's a lot of statutory things we have to do.
Right.
Public forum. And so, there's, even if the board had a desire to have that discussion, there will be no way to check all the statutory stuff and have, people try to rush through it, but if you don't know, a decision like that does not need to be rushed.
Right.
And so some of the data that I have, and we were looking at earlier, and I got to get Mr. Lynn, we got to look at building condition, water to cost of utilities, every part of that building or buildings. You have to study that and then make an informed decision. Look at staffing, when a school has less than 100 kids, the state does not pay for the principal. Local funds have to pay for a principal. And so all those things are all considerations. And so I do think we're at a point as a board and as an admin team that we need to start looking at our district as a whole and having those conversations, particularly when we get, through the end of the school year, get to the summer and get some more concrete data. I think we need to start having those conversations early on in the fall. So if the board decides, or we feel like we're at a point to make some kind of recommendation of a change or changes, then that we do that early enough at the public forum, make a well-informed decision, whatever direction we may go. And that if we do that, if we make some kind of decision, there's plenty of transition time for whatever that might be, if it's a school reconfiguration or if it's an attendance zone change, that we have is well communicated, well thought out, worked through. So that, there's no way, and I wouldn't even do this. There's no way to make a change for 25-26. I wouldn't even try to push. Good. Just out of fairness for you all, for me, and for the communities, it would not be fair to anybody to try to rush something like that. So, so if you talk to folks, constituents, that's not even on the table. So that school unless there's an act of God, will be open in the 25-26 year.
All right, good, thank you. Next question, it was in regards to, AP courses. I know the advanced placement courses, and then you have the honors classes, all the other stuff, and so, just want to get clarity on the pass rate, because AP courses are designed to be on a collegiate level. And so those students, have to take, is it a standardized test
It
for
is.
completion? It may have changed, but in years ago, the students did not perform well. They were able to use AP courses to boost their grade point average and to accelerate academically and qualify for more scholarships, but it was not doing the intended purpose of getting the collegiate credit. And so how is that being addressed? Because students are, I mean, they're doing this, I mean,
Right.
sign up for AP course, you know.
They're getting the quality points for that GPA. to-
Right, right.
And I tell you, and we're not seeing as much interest in AP because of CCP.
I was gonna ask.
They can go to the BCC track
And get.
that course.
Mhm.
And, cause I tell you, the AP exams are very, very difficult. Students can do so well with the course material. And you, just like we have some students on regular standardized tests, even with EOG, they're great students, but there's something about that test that just, you know. And so one thing we've seen historically, not just in Bladen County, is that kids get in there, they do well in the course. And they're like, I did all this work and I took this test and I'm not getting a college credit. Whereas if I'm gonna do the work, I'm gonna dual enroll with us in BCC,
Right.
take the class.
Right.
I don't have to take a test to get the credit. I just got to pass the class.
Right.
And so, you know, we're seeing, and you used to be something called International Baccalaureate, where it's some kind of similar. Those numbers are down. But I understand for families. I mean, if I have a chance to be in a course taught by a college instructor,
Right.
I'm going to do that and have them exposed for that semester.
Right.
And then get that credit, because you'd hate, I mean, and a lot of times too, these courses would go year long and not just a semester. You work that whole academic year. And then bomb that test, not get, and do all that work, not get credit for the course. You get credit on the high school side, but you wouldn't credit on the college side.
How about that test?
Yeah. And just what, it just ends up being more fair to the students. And I think that more students have opportunities on the CCP side.
I think so. I'd agree.
And same thing with the CT courses too.
Right.
Jason, the question I have is, what do you have on, Senate Bill 754?
Let me look that one up, because I got a.
That's the one that focuses on, school districts having more leniency, a little bit more room, flexibility.
Yeah, skill count, there we go, yeah.
Yeah.
So what that is, and now the newest language is that, they're looking at pushing that out another year, but again, it hasn't been finalized, so.
Right.
What that would do, and it makes it very interesting, basically, it would allow us to start a week earlier. But what you've got to do, and there's a lot of red tape, and that's some of the questions we talked about, is that, you have to have equal semesters. That's hard in the fall, with you got Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, all that there. And now there's a bill for election day to become a holiday too.
Right.
And so, you know, it's hard to right now, we felt years ago, this is when I was in CNI, curriculum instruction, that, it was better for kids to have exams before they go home for Christmas. You know, it does make it for a shorter. So what principals done in scheduling is we've tried to put the state tested courses, more of them in the spring because it's a longer semester. This forces you to go to equal semesters, which is almost impossible. You won't hardly have any teacher work days. I mean, I like the goal was that what everybody wanted was to let us start earlier in August, like charters don't have that.
Yeah,
they can start August 1.
There's about 25% of the school districts out of the 115 that have already done it without the Senate's approval.
And now what's going
to for it
with this, if you do that, they're going to withhold the state's portion of the central office a lot in the new bill. So,
but we ain't on that list, are we?
No, we don't need that.
But I think the way they would fix it is that we would, if it does pass, is that schools would have flexibility to start earlier, but then you would in the school, I mean, you would gain a week in the fall and then you lose a week in the spring.
Be done by
about the hours in the day that you could.
Right, you have to have flexibility on hours and days like we have now. But you got to be done by the Friday before the last Monday in May, so that's basically the last
Right.
Friday in May.
Right.
That's also tough.
Yeah.
You gotta balance out, and see, with programs like child nutrition that are self-sufficient, the less student days you have,
Mhm.
that program's gonna hurt, because we have to dig child nutrition out, if they go in the hole. We have to find money to.
Tell you they justify the money.
Right, we had to pull from, we gotta make thankfully, child nutrition is not, we missed it by how much, Mr. Bryant? We were almost close to getting indirect costs, it was very close.
Yeah, we have 1.99 months of operating balance.
We needed two, then we could have drew indirect costs from them, so that was one thing I cited in there, county commission. We
So we were that
missed out on the
close?
money we get from child nutrition.
Do another day in there, son.
I know, or pass out some. But, so.
I didn't tell you I'll do nothing wrong. Now, don't say that the wrong way.
If this passes, and I feel for the council part, my recommendation is, let's not change our year for next year. Let's go. We've already got everything planned. It's not worth that 1 week until we learn more about it. I think they're gonna find out when they get into it. There's a lot of things they hadn't thought through. I feel like it would make us a disservice. Let's keep, we know what we got now is working for us. And then, cause, sometimes you want to be on it and jump, but this is one of those, I'm not comfortable putting our folks through that and taking, but students and teachers need those work days and things throughout the year.
Would that would definitely be something we probably need to have some kind of survey with the parents as well.
Right.
See how they feel about that.
And a lot of them tell you informally they want to start earlier. Now, there's another bill, kind of similar to calendar, where they want to require every district to have at least 1 year-round school. It's another bill. And that's a whole different kind of schedule, 9 weeks in school, 3 weeks out. And that's challenging too. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but I'm gonna probably just send y'all, save time now when I get my report. I'm just gonna send y'all all these pending bills they've in right now.
I still without them. Carolina. Read all that stuff.
Yes, sir. I'll send it to y'all. You can actually subscribe to the house and they'll send you what's on the docket for that.
Yeah.
So you'll get an email
It's
alert.
called ED, North Carolina.
That's right.
I'll send y'all the link where you can register and they'll let you know what, and I sign up for all the education.
They send you weekly, daily updates.
If there's an education bill to be discussed, they'll send an email. The Senate's gonna talk about this bill. And so, I'll send that to you all either tonight or in the morning. I'll send that, link to y'all to register. In fact, if you wanted to, we could register you all for it if it'd be, I don't mind doing it. Because, she's gotta put email address in. We can do all of it. I don't mind doing it. We'll put y'all on those so y'all start getting, you will get emails to confirm your subscription. So when y'all get those, just click confirm. There'll be several of them. I'll sign you all up for the same ones I got, education, even special committees. So anything that pops up education, we'll get an alert they're gonna be talking about it. Sometimes they live stream and you can listen in when they're debating those.
Good stuff.
All right, everybody good? All right, I'll, board chair report. First of all, assistant principals, thank you. Thank you for what you do. It's your week. Thank you, Miss Lennon. Appreciate you. I know, I think some of us, everybody's left, so I think you're the long. So I know how the assistant stuff works in a prior life. Sometimes you're more in depth and you get some of the more deeper stuff. So we certainly appreciate what you do and every single day and every single week. We appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you for what you're doing and all my APs out there. I know it's been a minute, but our basketball teams, we didn't get the end result that we wanted, but man, we sure battled hard out there, and you certainly appreciate the coaches and the time and the interest they put in that out here. So just on a level for everybody, just make sure, and I know everybody looks at this kind of thing, make sure we got succession planning out there for all of our folks. I know we got some folks retiring, who's replacing it, what's our pipeline look like, all the way down from through maintenance and all the way across the board. What does that look like? What does our succession plan look like? Who's retiring? Who are we going to replace? And what's the timelines look like? Because obviously we don't want to get down to the end of the road and be like, oh gosh, we got to hire somebody now. So what does that look like out there? And continue to support your folks that are in the field working hard out there. Just making sure we're supporting and listening, removing barriers as we can. Makes life simpler from that side. From that standpoint, work-life balance is important out there. So make sure we're taking a look at that, and just thank everybody for what you do every single day. We got man, I see stuff in every school. I'm a member. I like to follow every school we got. There's just so much positive out there, and people come at you with a negative thought. You're like, man, I don't know what you're looking at, but we got some fantastic stuff that's going on out there in our schools, and I'm appreciative of all the volunteers, the teachers, the TAs that are out there, our principals, our leadership. Man, our cafeteria workers. That's a challenge every day. School buses, we're doing everything we can to get folks to drive, our maintenance folks. Just make sure that we thank them, board members, district leadership. Make sure we're thanking these folks when we see them in the field, because they got a tough job out there. So, but other than that, that's all I got, sir.
I'll be brief. I had several legislative things. I'm just gonna send to you all. It's all pending. And it goes from, I think plus, Mr. Secretary, what you talk about with the pipeline. There are some things they're looking at doing that's gonna maybe help the pipeline if they pass. Opening up some apprenticeships, maybe doing some partnerships, 2-year programs, bringing folks in, flexibility with licensure.
Sure.
And North Carolina's probably one of the tougher states to get a teaching license. And even with reciprocity, there's some folks who come from out of state, maybe with military families move in. They had the hardest time getting a North Carolina teaching license. They could be licensed in Virginia, come here, and they had to fight tooth and nail to get a license. We had the hardest place, and Mrs. Harrison is dealing with all these salary exceptions now where people, they qualify for the license and states still haven't given their license yet. We know they qualify. So, I mean, it's just been a barrier. It's just been something. So I'll send some of these bills to you all, just kind of for you look, and we'll get you all subscribed to those lists. Littleton Middle School, that is our one CSI building, which is continuous school improve. And they get some specialized funding. We know that part of the change for that building is to get some highly qualified staff in that building. Not saying that folks there aren't, but they have some areas of vacancy, and some it fluctuates from time to time. So what we have done is we've put out an internal vacancy announcement for those tested areas, as well as EC, English, Science, and 5A, Math, and EC. What we're able to do as a part of that CSI budget, it has money designated in there for recruitment and retention. So what we put out, we're doing an internal search first, then we'll put an external. So rather than me, I could easily go through and do a reassignment of staff. So what I wanted to try to go through, see voluntarily who may be interested in applying. So we're requiring at least 3 years of teaching experience. Even if someone's in that building that has that, they need to apply for this bonus program. So what we're looking at doing is if we're able to select you, meet this criteria, and have a pattern of growth, that you could receive a $10,000 a year bonus, $1,000 per month to teach in a high need school.
Oh, wow.
And that's a part of that. And then part of that CSI is it's up to a 3-year renewable. So what we would say is once you do it, we can guarantee the year. And as those funds allow, and we're able to renew that with successful growth and proficiency. That building needs that. We've sat here and we've seen that. And, there's good folks in there. We've got some beginning teachers who are starting out well, but they need support too. It's hard to find teacher mentors for a school full of beginning teachers. And so, no one would lose a position. They would work for that, but I think that's going to be our ticket. Let's look at our in-house talent first, give folks an opportunity to apply to this. And then, if we need to go outside and advertise, we can, but, we've got to work through. That's one of the targets of that funding is to try to recruit personnel that can help grow students in that.
So how long is this going on, Jason?
It's kind of easy to make growth with the schools that we have, isn't it?
One thing we want is it depends on the content, because with growth, you've got to show it follows cohorts. So if I'm a 5th grade student now, it's going to follow me in grade 6, 7, 8. So it looks at that data across. So the teacher for 5th grade math, when they go to 6th grade math, they'll get a projection score based off of. So that your growth measure will be where they come in at from 5th grade to what they finish in grade 6. I do think there's some good things that are going on that we're going to see some change, provided the state don't throw us for a whammy. But we got math standards fixed to be redone again. And I'm like, and science just got redone and Lord knows, science, I'm gonna tell you, science is gonna, unless the Lord intervenes, science will take a dip this year because of those new standards. And the state has not done a good job of giving teachers the resources. And so to your point, Ms. Rhoda, if all the cards lined up right, it can be done. But it's hard for beginner teachers who are, a lot of folks are coming in too, they're not going that traditional path, they're struggling with classroom management, they're struggling with those kind of things, and those things can be barriers to students learning. You gotta have order in your classroom before you ever teach the first lesson. And that's one of the challenges that, we have, and that comes a lot of times with that experience.
But I'm just saying, we talking about paying somebody, good money, and I probably could make both, and I never thought.
Well, the goal is that you got to have that, you're looking at growth and the proficiency, so you want both of those to increase.
Yeah.
And it has been a historically hard to staff school. And it hadn't always been that way, years ago, I was split between there and East Blake, we had a full staff. We also know that the rate of folks coming into to the profession is not there. We have people going on non-traditional tracks. But we have, of all of our buildings, that building has struggled the most and has been this is year 3 on CSI. And we're at a point now, we tried to do some work previously, and on the admin side, that didn't work in our favor. We've got to start doing those things that we know could be high-end yield strategies. This is one of them, to try to attract quality personnel in that building, because those kids deserve to be taught by highly qualified professionals as everybody else. And so, we got part of that when you're looking at trying to balance talent and all is, you can't have all your beginning teachers in one building and all your experience in another. So what the goal of this was to try to say, look, let's give you an opportunity to nominate yourself. Basically, we've got an application, it's very brief. And we asked him, why do you think you can make a difference in this school? Tell us why. And you go through an interview process. The goal of that is we want to try, the goal is try to get the best of the best to help move. We got to get that building dug out of a rut. And I think the people in that building now are working hard, but they need support. And there's some vacancies there that we've got to get filled. We're setting kids up for failure going into high school when they hadn't had a math teacher, or they hadn't had an ELA teacher. And we would do the same thing for another building. But right now, we know that Elizabethtown Middle that's the school that has been struggling. And we have got to make some significant changes and strive to do what we can to try to build that building back up.
Well, I just want to give you something to think about when we start passing out money, But I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I think if this works like it should, I think we'll see some tremendous gains. And we're trying to look in-house first.
So when are you gonna start this, Jason?
We put the application out now internally. So we sent to the entire school district.
Okay.
And then so we gave them a window through this week for anyone that's interested to apply. That'll come to HR. So we'll evaluate what we had that's come in just internal.
So it started this week.
It just started, we put it out last week.
Right. And it's gonna be we're gonna run it till when?
Right now, we're gonna collect internal through this Friday. We may extend it just to kind of see what we get before Easter break.
Okay.
Because these will be positions starting for the new school year. We wouldn't do anything right now, obviously. That, and then we can kind of look, what have we had apply? Do we feel comfortable now doing some interviews with the numbers that we have at this point? Or do we feel like we need to open it up maybe another week internal, or let's go ahead and post it out and see, is there some outside talent also we want or we might want to balance it. So, we always want to try, when we have an opportunity like this and we want to try to give internal an opportunity first.
Okay, but if we moving them from one school to this school, what are we doing to replace that position at that school?
Well, what may happen is we may have some transfers based on what this yields. There might be a couple of beginning teachers that we may change to a different site, possibly. Or may not, it just depends. We won't know as much until we see.
There's a lot of pieces to that.
Right, and I'm trying, it's a moving target.
A lot of pieces to that.
And so I have to kind of think in the back of my mind, so, because we targeted those test areas and EC. And which we know, we've had 2 EC vacancies right now sitting there. And so we know.
Definitely to get them filled.
Right.
That's federal.
So, that we include them in this. We didn't do like some other subject areas. We try to get the high end, the areas that it measured us against. And then that's those three areas, ELA, math, science is grades 5, 8, and then the EC side too. And so, you know, we'll have to kind of think through once this comes in, see where we are. And then I got to wrap my mind, so what kind of reassignments do I need to work through to make this, and it can be done. It's very complex.
Yeah.
Different way, usually, I mean, I could easily say, okay, teacher 3, 4, 5, I'm moving you over here. But I felt like in this case, especially since we had this funding source, we have an opportunity to attract the best of the best. And so that's what we want to try to do to help get this building. And that we want them out of CSI status. We want them out of low performance status. We want to try to kind of do a reset and get them back where they need to be. And there's some other factors we got to work through that are non-instructional related, and we can do that. But you know, we're doing a disservice to the children in that building if we just sit back and don't do anything.
But the state gave us a 5-year plan.
Well, the state, if we don't, and I know this is kind of a bold thing to do, but what hurt a couple school districts, they sat back and state come in and said, we're going to take over. So local have no control over that school anymore. It's ours. And they've done that. That happened in Halifax. That happened in Robinson. Now, they gave Robinson back their school after a while, but the state board took over that building. They hired a principal.
It wasn't easy though.
No, it weren't. They did all the hiring, and the local board had no say in a school that was in their county.
Well, they couldn't say nothing.
And so I think if, you know, and we've had a lot of thought process to this. We feel like this is probably the next best step, because you got to do something to attract people to come in. And, you know, and we asked them specifically those questions. Why do you think you'd make a difference? And we'll obviously get to an interview, but tell us in writing why you think you'd be someone that could help move these students in this building. How can you contribute to their academic success? And, you know, you gotta be able to communicate that, but you also gotta be able to do it. And so we want to see that first part, put it in writing how you can do it. Then and it's not gonna be the same kind of interview we always have. We're gonna get some scenarios and things. And we're gonna get some real scenarios taking place in this building and say, okay, teacher A, you're in here for interview. Hypothetically, student A is this, student B is this, and this takes place. Tell us how would you respond or what would you do in this case? And talk us through that. Even we want also, one thing I want to do in this is I want you to teach me, I'm gonna give you before they come for the interview, we're gonna lay out, you've got a classroom of X number of students. 5 are EC, learn disabled, 3 are this, 2 are that. Now, you're going to demonstrate a lesson to us and how you're going to differentiate your instruction to meet the needs of every child that's sitting in that building. Now, I want to see a demonstration lesson before the interview committee. And we don't always, I mean, the time doesn't allow, but I mean, that's how we got to make sure we got the right people to go in this building over here. That's because if we're going to make this kind of investment, if we're going to invest that kind of money, we got to make sure that it's the right.
Just to kind of, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just what Mr. Rowland was saying, we talked about this some months ago. I think it was in January, then it was put off into February. Something very similar. Was it?
That was through the state's, state had another plan. That's a restart school.
Right.
But there was a lot of questions that were not answered for us on the financial side, and we felt like we needed that time. And even with that, you still have a prep year. So kind of this would be one of the strategies that would go in as a part of that. So we're essentially doing some of that, but just not
a different, okay.
But did they say we could spend the money like we wanted to?
Well, yes and no, Mr. Loda, because what they do is they'll give you X number per child, and you got to figure in transportation like that. All that stuff comes off. So it's districts that have done it struggle with the financial part of it. You know, the concept is great. Now, the only thing we don't have, what we're doing about everything we could do except the school calendar flexibility. But I still don't think we gain much on. I think our calendar works well for us now. I mean, yeah, I would love an earlier start at some point, but you know, that's fighting out the tourism industry and all. That's why public schools can't do that.
But if they pass it, we ain't have a choice no way.
Well, with that, if they open it to where we can, then I'd be off. But that one that's being proposed, we still have the option of what we have now, so it's optional.
Right.
I would feel like for me as superintendent, I would not be doing us the best service of jumping on that bandwagon year one because of all the red tape we gotta jump through. I don't feel like that we could do that, and we'd only gain a week. And even then, we're not really gaining because we might have to lose instructional days to make, because it requires you to balance the days.
Yeah, I think it says something like 10,
And then you're
10 instructional days or something like that.
And then you might have to lengthen your school day. And that becomes challenging even too, because there's actually a bill that's being proposed that does away with block schedule in high school, go back to the 7-period day. Now, that would not work for
Yeah,
college.
I didn't read that.
Yeah, that's one that's in the works too. That's
I just had two things, I promise you. One, you talked about demonstration, having folks to write things down. I think once you say $10,000, then that may become the focus for some people. And so versus having someone to write things down, may want to consider having them to demonstrate a lesson and have a group of students, somebody's unruly, somebody, has a lot of questions, just to see how they would respond, and you just observe them. So I think that would give a better pool. But you said something earlier about, and you mentioned Ms. Harrelson. I want to be sure I didn't miss anything. I understood you correctly. You said that teachers that may qualify for a state licensure, meaning that they've met the credentials and all this other stuff, or met the requirements for the credentials. You said Ms. Harrelson was doing something. Was she working with those?
It's salary exceptions, and we can have, say I graduated from Fayetteville State last May, and I got a degree. I got my degree in, English education. They are so backlogged in licensure and the way they're coding some of this, that I could start my job and I've applied for my teaching license. I've met the requirements. I've taught at East Bladen for 4 months. State flags and says, oh, this person doesn't have a teaching license. Well, yes, they do. They've applied. You just haven't converted their license. Or the code you added them to in Raleigh doesn't match the teaching area. So it's not really our problem, but they make it our problem. And if we don't go line by line, which they're having to do, and say, no, this person does have a license, they graduated here, and because it comes back to financial, because they'll ding us and say, well, Bladen County Schools owes $32,000 back to this person because they don't have a license. Well, yes, they do. They qualify for a license. You just haven't given it to them yet. So we have to clear that up. If not, when it gets to the end of the year, when we get to June 30th, we got to send them, even though the person could be licensed, they're going to try to make us pay.
We don't have anything going on. We don't have.
It goes through Ms. Harrelson, excuse me. Whenever you mentioned earlier that it goes through Ms. Harrelson, you said because it becomes financial. So my question was, I didn't hear human resources involved in that.
It's HR is working.
So they're commingling and kind of working.
HR deals with, and Ms. Tanya, I mean, she submits license applications all the time. It's just where they come back and get you at is on the financial side. They try to say, it keeps popping on a report until they clear that license in Raleigh. They stay on that report. We have some people sometimes that, and the last 2 or 3 years have been really bad. But we had, 90 some they flagged us on. And we're talking about people there's been people that has taught with us and they're renewing. They've been a teacher for 20 some years and they're renewing their license. And they've got them on it, or they've coded them wrong in Raleigh. So they have to go line by line, say, no, this person, they're not doing that work. They're making the school district do that work. That's really their problem.
You say
12 right now.
We're down to 12 now. We started out with 90 some, but they've worked through, we're down to 12.
So if they end up sending us a request to pay X number of dollars and we pay it, once they get it clarified, do they give us the money back?
Probably not as easy.
You have to fight for it. We had to fight for one about 2 years ago.
I'm sure it's a fight, but I just want to make sure.
And they messed up. They put it black and white. They said this person does qualify for the license. And then try to tell us, no, they don't. Well, we're all about documentation. Oh, yes, you did. You said this person qualified and we're not paying it. Well, we didn't pay it. And so we had another one where they messed up the person. So it's sad that you got to go behind the State Department, but you got to check the balances. Because, this is really their problem, but they make it the school district's problem. We have to do the legwork when it should be them fixing it. Because what you got, and now Superintendent Green's working through this, you had probably 3/4 of the staff at DPI that were working from home. Must be nice.
Sure was.
I mean, people would call DPI and call and they didn't get an answer because they were home and they weren't checking their voicemail. Right?
That's true.
And so now Superintendent Green saying, if you work DPI, you need to be, so they're doing a transition plan, getting people back in that building. They should be there.
Right.
When I go for state board meetings, that place would be a ghost town over there.
That's one of the first things he said he was gonna change when we talked.
And that was part of the problem. there was nowhere, when we called about it each year, there was no one that answered the phone. So I mean, we can't clear a license for someone or figure out what's going on. Nobody won't answer the phone. And God knows if you send an email, you might get a response a week or two later, and then on to something else. So it's definitely a challenge. So that's the E-Town Middle licensure. We're on spring break starting Friday through the following Friday. Don't forget, we have our work session with the School Board Association, the 28th at 6:30. And the trainer, and that's gonna help the trainers to get out of Raleigh and get to us. That'll be at 6:30 that night. There may be a possibility we may have to reschedule our regular meeting in May. We'll get back with you all on that. But right now it's scheduled for the 12th. But if there's a change, we'll communicate that out. But I think
The award ceremony you mentioned before at the BCC, when is that?
it's May 19th.
May 19th.
And we're actually gonna be across the street at the middle school. So we're gonna do it over here.
Oh, you're not, okay.
We'll have more room and parking will be better because we got to look at our numbers. It might have been.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
So what might have to happen is if, depending on, with that meeting, we might have to flip the two events and do the awards on the 12th and board meeting on the 19th, but we'll get back with you all on that.
All right.
That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Can I get a motion on the to adjourn?
Can I get I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second on the floor. All those in favor saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion.
Yeah, we got a lot coming to you. Y'all have a good rest of the week. Appreciate the toilet. Oh, yeah. I know everybody was real happy about that.
They are.
Yeah. You never realize a toilet would make a big difference for people.
A lot less travel, though, when you got this.
I'm out of here. Have a good one. Yes, sir.
No, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, have a good one.
I want to get with you on that stuff that you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.